Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Erica. Today is launch day for our December topper of the month. So this is the last month for our 2025 topper series. We will have a new series starting next year, so stay tuned for that. I will be announcing that in January. And I think I'm going to keep the same launch day, so the first Thursday of the month, I'll launch the series. If you're new to my channel, we are doing monthly topper series. These are table toppers meant to be put on top of your table, and you can put a candle or a little plant on top just to add a little bit of seasonal decor to your home decorating. In previous years, we've done trucks of the month. They are mini wall hangings. We did houses of the month. Last year we did pillows of the month, and then this year we were doing the table toppers of the month. And a fun little fact, the pillows and table toppers all finish at the same size. They're all 20 by 20. And so if you wanted to, you could make the table toppers into pillows or the pillows into little table toppers or wall hangings. Anything that you'd like to do with that. And you can always take those patterns as well and put them into a quilt or a longer runner or a bed runner, anything like that. So make sure you're making use of all of your quilt patterns and getting more than just one thing out of them. Like I mentioned before, up until this point, you were only able to get the topper patterns individually, but now that we've got all 12 months released, they are put in a bundle. You can still get them individually if you just want a few of them, or you can just buy the whole pack and get all 12 months. And that's available for both the cross stitch version and the quilt version. I will have links for all of that in the description box below this video. I will also have them on my store listing. So you can go to store.confessionsofahomeschooler.com and just type in December topper or November topper or 2025 topper, and it should pull up all of those options for you. All right, we're gonna get started, but before we do, I did want to remind you that I do still have sticker packs left. These are our monthly seasonal sticker packs. They include 6 high quality, high color vinyl stickers. This is the December pack. Super, super cute. They're perfect for laptops, guitar cases, water bottles. I put them on my sewing machine, computers, wherever you like to decorate. So don't forget to grab those, and you can get these in my store. And you can get these in my store like the other series. You can buy them individually, or I did add a option to buy all 12 months at once if you're interested. All right, let's go ahead and dive right into today's video with our December Stitchy topper. So here we are, you guys. This is our final update for our Stitchy progress. January all the way through to December. December's super cute. I wanted to bring back my little truck. So we've got an adorable little red vintage truck, and he's got a Christmas tree in the back with some little snowflakes falling in the sky. Super, super cute. Now, as you can see here, I stitched mine as the whole cloth version. You could stitch these individually, and the pattern does include instructions for the whole cloth version or just the individual month if you do not want to do all of the months. So that is both included in there. And then in today's video, I'm going to show you how I'm going to be finishing mine off since I did the whole cloth version. But really quickly, one last time, I stitched on 14 count Aida. This is in the Charles Craft Platinum colorway. It's a nice neutral colorway. And then here's all of my DMC floss colors. All of this is listed in the pattern. And the 14 count Aida is perfect for beginners. This whole series is beginner friendly. And if you need extra help, I also have a how to cross stitch series here on YouTube you can check out. That covers everything from supplies, how to actually do the stitches themselves, how to count so you know like where to put what, and just all of the information you need if you're a beginner cross stitcher. Let's do a quick close-up for you. Here's our little truck so you can see that little motif in action. It's so cute. I love how it turned out. I'm loving these little trucks. And if you haven't seen before, I do have quilts that feature these trucks. I have seasonal ones for every single season. I've got Christmas, spring, summer, fall, and patriotic. Those are my vintage truck quilts on my store. So you can check those out if you're interested in more truck motifs. And then I have a few little pillows that include the trucks on them as well. And then you'll see today's table topper that matches that as well. So this is what my finished stitch piece looks like. Let's go ahead and take a look at how we're going to finish off this project. So I've already gone ahead and attached my stitched piece to my sticky board, and then I hot glued an accent ribbon around the outside edge. And I do have a full video tutorial on how to do that here on YouTube. I have several different finishing methods you can check out. This time, instead of using hot glue to attach the stitched piece though, I have tried this double-sided craft tape. I'll put a link on the one that I used below this, but it actually worked out really well. It's really easy to use. I just stick the fabric to the front side of the sticky board, and then I added the tape around the outside edges and just folded the fabric over, and it just sticks really, really well. So I like using that method instead of the hot glue for attaching my fabric to the actual pieces of sticky board. So I've prepared 2 pieces of sticky board. I did my corners a little different on both. This one you can see I mitered the corners, and the other one I just folded them flat. I actually think the flat folded corners look a little bit sharper in my opinion. You just have to make sure you can't see those edges sticking out from behind the board, but I think it worked really well. I've prepared 2 pieces. I am planning on hanging this cross stitch piece. So I have a piece of about 36 inches of twine, and you can make this any length that you want. So I'm taking that piece of twine, adding a bunch of hot glue there, and then I'm going to add more hot glue just to the back of one of my pieces of sticky board. That way when I put those 2 boards together, they'll sandwich my string in between, and it'll be a really nice way to be able to hang this piece. So I'm just gluing those together, just making sure that those are nice and straight. And then as you can see, I have my hanger sticking out both sides. The next thing I'm going to do is just take my finished cross stitch piece and add some hot glue to the back of that. If you don't want to make this permanent, you could always do the magnet method where you glue a couple magnets to the hanging portion and then a couple washers to the back to your stitched piece, and then you can swap that stitched piece out monthly if you have seasonal stitched pieces to display. So I'm just holding this on here now. As I'm doing this, I've decided that the ribbon is covering up that back piece, so I'm not sure if I love the look of it, but that's what we're working with so far. I also took another piece of that accent ribbon and I just folded it into a bow shape, and then I used a piece of sewing thread to tie it in the center just to hold it into shape, and then I'm just going to put a little dab of hot glue on the top of my stitched piece and add my bow to the center. Next I'm going to add a little button in the center. That's why I tied it with the thread. It doesn't really matter if you can see it or not, and it keeps it nice and secure, and then I can add my button in the middle. And here you see me, I had my button backwards, so I just flipped it around really quick, but hot glue is super forgiving in that way. So here is what the finished piece looks like. And now I have enough twine that I can tie a little bow at the top, and I'm going to be using this cute little star hanger to hang my piece. And here's what our finished piece looks like. Instead of hanging it on the wall, I actually decided to display it on one of my cookbook holders. You can also use a little frame easel to display your stitchy pieces, or you can use that twine we added to hang it on the wall. But here's what mine ended up looking like. If you're stitching along with me, don't forget to share your progress and finishes in our Sew With Me group on Facebook. All right, so that was the stitchy version. Let's go ahead and take a look at the quilty version. So here is our quilty version. I thought this was so cute. I just did, of course, our little vintage truck. I did a tree in the back, and then I wanted to add something in this space right here, so I added a cute little candy cane on top. And then for our borders, we did pinwheels in the corners and little Christmas trees in the centers, and I just thought that gave it a cute little whimsical touch. The fabric that I'm using for this was all from my Believe fabric collection that I released last year, and then the truck, the aqua, was from my Heartland collection that I released back for July for the patriotic season, and I think the pink was actually from my very first line called Bloom. So I did a lot of mixing and matching for my fabrics here. For the background fabric, I just used the low volume print that came with that Believe. I had enough to use that for this, but really I'm trying to use a lot of my scraps for these toppers. All of these monthly series, because they're so small and you don't have to do an entire quilt, are great stash busters. So dig into your stash, get some fabrics that coordinate together, and I encourage you to use them up for these projects. For the backing on this, I did have enough. I did have to piece it, but I did have enough to do a backing of the little houses. This was one of the prints that we used for our backing for our Christmas Spools quilt. It's from my Believe collection, and I just thought it was so cute. And like I said, I was really just trying to use whatever I had enough of, and I had enough of these cute little houses. Now you might notice that I don't have my binding on here yet. That's because I have a lot of holiday content that I'm working on, and so I really wanted to get this video filmed early. So it's actually a little bit early that I'm filming this, and I just haven't had a chance to do the binding on it yet. However, I do think I'm going to use the aqua from the truck just to bring that all together, because I don't have aqua anywhere else in this pattern. And so this was was the aqua from my Heartland collection, but it has little red flowers in it, so I thought it made it a little bit more Christmassy. And then I thought that aqua binding would tie in with the truck. So I think that's what I'm going to be doing, but I will also insert some pictures here because by the time this does go live, I will have bound this and it'll be all done and ready to go. Let's take a look at the quilting. I'll try and show you up close. I just did some swirls, and then every now and then I did a snowflake, and my snowflakes were really easy. I would do a swirl and then come in and I would just make a line, come back to the center, and then make a perpendicular line back to the center, and then I would go vertical and horizontal. Just make a snowflake. When you get back to the center, you can come out in any direction that you need to continue on. And so that's how I did this whole thing. I just did swirls and snowflakes wherever I had room. And here's another one of those snowflakes. So this design is actually really easy. I've also combined the snowflakes before with holly. Holly leaves are really easy to do, and so, you know, just have fun with it. If you haven't done free motion quilting, I highly encourage you to try it, especially on these smaller projects. They're really easy to do on just your regular home sewing machine because you're not wrangling a whole quilt. It's just a little 20 by 20 toppers. So I do highly recommend that you quilt your own if you haven't been. And I do have two videos here, one how to free motion quilt and one how to straight line quilt. You can also reference those if you need extra help. And then since I haven't bound it yet, I do not have my label on yet, but this is going to be the little label I'm using. These are from everemblem.com. And I think this one is called Whimsical Floral, but they have a ton of different options. And this is the foldable label. So you can see it's just blank down here. So I do fold that in half and then add it in to my binding. It also comes with adhesive on the back. So if you want to cut out your label and then iron it on to your fabric and then just sew around the edges to give a little extra security, you can add a label that way as well. But for these smaller projects, I like adding them just right into my binding. So anyway, here is our December topper of the month and the Stitchy one. I hope you have enjoyed this series. I have a lot of fun holiday content still coming your way for this month, so stay tuned for that. And then join me in January for our start off of our 2026 series. Thanks so much for hanging out with me for today's video. If you liked it, please make sure to subscribe to my channel, thumbs up the video, and you can also hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any upcoming content. Thanks for hanging out with me today, and I will see you in the next video. And then for our border, we did pinwheels. It also comes with like an adhesive on the back, so you can tear off this little paper, and it thanks so much for hanging out with me today, and I will see you in the new